So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression.
Oh, all right. Is the club okay? No, this is the brunch fest and the way shit works now. Welcome to the way shit works now. We're doing a little brunch fest that's fusing in with the club with Lucas. Thank you, everybody. In fact, I called this 7.0 Beast. And I have titled this, stupidly, Exported Sass, American Artists Abroad. We've got a femme twist going on. Can everybody just introduce themselves, please, today? Because I'm not going to do it. The queens are speaking for themselves. Lady Nancy, if you would start, please.
Hi there, I'm N.Goldstein. I moved to Barcelona from New York City, Brooklyn, in November of 2022, and I just have to say that it is hilarious to be identified as a femme. Thank you.
Hello, I am Kelli Ellis. Hailing from the country of California.
The fourth largest economy in the world.
Thank you very much. Came here in 2019, right before the pandemic. It was so great. And I do love it. I'm an interior designer by trade. And I have some fun things to share, some new shows.
Child.
Yeah.
We've got some shit to talk about. So,
yeah.
Lady H.
I'm Hannah Becker. I'm from New York. I've lived in Barcelona since 2015. I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary in August.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I do stand-up comedy, and happy to be here.
She's one of the queens of comedy of Barcelona.
She books the Comedy Club, for God's sake.
She helps run the Comedy Club.
I need to go laugh.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, oh my God, come to a show. Please. So many shows.
Please.
And finally?
Hi, I'm N.Kollars. I've been in Barcelona for 24 years, going on 25 in September. It's a long time.
You're local.
Since she was 18.
Man, family's from Hawaii. I was born in California, so West Coast girl. I lived in Seattle before coming here, but it seems like a very faint memory to me. I am a schizophrenic artist, so kind of got a few things juggling and going on. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about it.
And we do want to talk about it because you're going to be taking one of your one-woman acts abroad, aren't you not?
Yes, I'm taking it to London in August.
So,
Nice.
And I am going to go see her in London in August because I'll be spending August in London.
Oh.
Donde? Where in
And
London?
gigging. Well, I'm going to be living in beautiful Finsbury Park with a queer Nigerian German novelist and her spicy 8-year-old daughter. So I'm gigging and going to the BBC prom. So I'm incredibly excited.
Wow.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see you there. I'm going to come see you too.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your show? I don't really know anything about it.
My show, it's a one-woman show. It's a theater piece, monodrama, and it's based on true events. My mother passed away in 2021 from COVID. And
yours too.
Yeah, and so it's based on all that and my process of grieving and going through all the different, being so far away as well. And so I created this character, and she's preparing a eulogy, and she goes through all the different emotions and brings up different characters as well. It's not just what you expect as being sad, but there's also lots of humor in there as well. So
that's great.
Hopefully you guys can come. Actually going to do it in July, 26th and 27th at the BCN Studio in Barcelona.
Okay, please.
Exactly. And
BCN Studio.
Amen.
I might be
They're
back by
popping
then.
off.
That's really great for grief processing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it's huge because it's, especially in the States, it just doesn't exist. Like, there's this whole, like, pass on, like, move on kind of culture, and then it just becomes stuck in your head and develops in your personality in toxic ways. So
that's a big reason why. I mean, I'm fortunate to be an artist, so I was easily writing things down, and I knew that it had to come out a certain way, and it came out on stage. But I do identify that there are a lot of people that come to me and say, wow, that brought up some things in me that I hadn't addressed in many years, and I can see a shift in them. It's a beautiful experience to go through.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're aware of media personality named Molly Jong Fast, but she actually has a book out now about dealing with the grief process with her mother dying of cancer.
Oh.
And
Her mother's Erica
it's,
Jong.
Well, Molly it's a bit of a revenge book.
Yeah,
but,
as well.
It's
right.
a little different.
yeah.
So I just want to say that, like, I think it's super fun to talk about, like, U.S. versus here stuff. But when someone else starts doing it first, I find myself becoming more nuanced. So I'm from the country called Brooklyn. And we do lots of grief processing and actually get a lot of shit for it. So I just want to say
Which
that
part of
it
Brooklyn, can I ask?
too.
well, so
Green Baby.
I'm one of the people who gentrified.
Bed-Stuy.
Well, actually, I'm in Clinton Hill, so I'm between Bed-Stuy and Fort Greene.
Wait a minute. I lived in Clinton Hill for years across from the Church of St. Matt and St. Luke.
I
on
still
Clinton
have a
Hill.
rent-control apartment there, so that can tell you just how much I want to be in Barcelona because my
I
ass
bet
is
you anything
in
our
Brooklyn.
paths would cross.
But I just want to say that so that I think that. You know, there's definitely grief processing.
Yeah.
And when I thought about my answers to some of the questions that Lucas passed around, I think that the number one thing I've learned about Barcelona is that I haven't seen it all yet, and that life is different here in Spanish. It's different in English.
true.
I'm
It's
sure that
different
when
in
I learn
Catalan.
Catalan, it will be a different
Yeah.
life.
Yes.
And so, you know, as someone who deadlifted with straight men who wear nail polish at my CrossFit gym, you know, we do grief processing. It depends on who you know.
Hannah, question. For those of us who have been here a hot minute, does it freak you out that within 72 hours they have to be interned in the ground? When people die in Spain, within 24 to 72 hours, you have to have had the funeral and they are buried.
Girl, I'm Jewish. We do
I was
it
saying,
within
I'm like, that's
24. We do it within 24. We come from the desert.
I was like, no, it doesn't freak me out at all.
I think
I
that
makes
cuts
sense.
a lot of the grieving process
Time
here.
period, you mean? Like
Well, I find it weirder to like put a dead body on display
Same.
and I'll go like look at
Awake.
it.
Same.
Like,
Right.
And hang out with your
house.
family
In your
and
house.
get drunk about it.
Yeah.
And by the way, we extend the process in Jewish culture by sitting Shiva for a week. So
Right.
so I just speaking for myself, I'm really a classic secular, shik-sedating, pork-eating, New York Jew, or as my mother would say, we're what the conservative and Orthodox would call Gentiles.
Yeah.
Ooh,
But
child.
well,
you know,
you're a lot like my wife.
but
Same dynamic.
one of the things that we do is we get the body into the ground because the body is not the part that matters.
Right.
Remembering the life and taking care of the people who are still there by coming by with
Right.
food and company for a week. That's what matters.
Amen.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
And my mother died of COVID in
As well.
2020 in the first wave to hit the nursing homes. And I'm thinking of calling my one-woman show Straight Jewish Barbie, but that's a whole other conversation. So I think that in the same way that 10 years ago we saw the first really significant pieces of work about Vietnam, that we're going to be seeing the significant pieces of work about COVID.
That's right.
Yeah, it was just it hasn't been processed, in my opinion. It has not really been processed. Like
still in
the
shock.
scale and the damage to people's lives and
Younger
Well, especially
lives,
us because
too.
we were 2 months in our small flats, right? I mean, a lot.
well, I was in the
Three,
States.
no?
My wife and I moved
Yes.
here 3 years ago.
I was here.
I was here in my
Oh,
small
it-
flat, running
yeah.
up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
Because I had to do something.
It was great
Yeah.
if you had a dog. You could get out.
I had two, and it still felt like we were holed up, like waiting for that time, our allotment to leave the house, right? Where you're
Yes.
allowed
Yeah.
to go out for a
For
walk.
1 hour, yeah.
And crying
Yeah.
because you got outside and you saw people's faces for a hot second, and you're like, yeah. Like, it was nuts.
Yes.
Well,
was
do you
nuts.
think that has been, for many people who escaped from the realities that are going on over there right now, do you think that has affected everybody or more one identified group like younger people?
Oh, well, leaving school, not having the normal,
Being inundated with this and only this for months.
I think
and
it
months
locked
and
them
months.
into that. I think
Oh,
it
for
locked
sure,
them in
yeah.
even tighter
I'm doing
to
it, I'm
social
doing it,
media
yeah.
and to the online. And
I think
to
all of us though. I mean,
True,
I think a lot of us got more addicted to our scrolling and all
Actually,
that
I
because
kind of
of
got freaked out. I disconnected. I couldn't handle seeing what was going on and seeing other people. Look how I'm handling my lockdown. I'm in a beautiful garden house. I'm like, I can't see anything like this.
Yeah.
Baking
So-
bread, yeah.
Yeah, so I just kind of stopped and I needed to disconnect.
It's kind of like watching And Just Like That now. Disconnect.
Everybody I know had a, quote, good COVID.
Same.
You know, we read, we learned languages, you know, and for me, I was in Lava PS with a very small terrace, and so I got some sunlight and a set of weights.
Where is that?
And
Nice.
I was like, yo, bitches, now all of you know what it's like to be broke and home single on a Saturday night. I'm calling your ass. So I had a different experience, but I think that the trauma that we had one pass at with COVID, straight people did. Queer people had it earlier with HIV and AIDS. Jewish people had it with the Holocaust. Is that we learned that there are no grown-ups in the room. Right? Like any sense that there was a big daddy who would take care of you, who would have a consistent public health policy, you know, who would be able to stand their ground against idiocy, like the no-vax people. Right, like that. If you didn't catch that wasn't happening then, I don't know what to do for you. And I think that even people who won't admit it on a conscious level now know on a different level that there are no adults in the room, and that's its own kind of widespread cultural trauma.
Yeah.
Well said. How do you... What antidote do you think there can be, little bit by bit, against that?
Forcing the Democratic leadership to get rid of all of their old dead guard. And I'm not referring to people by age.
No,
you know, Bernie Sanders is obviously terrific, but Charles Schumer, who I'm sure is listening at this moment, is my senator and lives 3 blocks away. And this whole attitude, which Joe Biden, who also took part in, that like it's a seniority system, you get to the top, then you get to spend your time there, you know, fuck whether you understand what your constituents are talking about. You know, I always knew who the Republicans were. I hold the Democrats responsible for what's happening now.
I agree. 100%. Where are the leaders? I'm sorry, sweetie.
They're Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they can hardly be bothered to talk to her.
It's so sad. Yeah. It's so sad to watch because, I mean, I'm independent, registered independent, but I come from a very, very red county. And everybody that I know didn't have COVID because they were in a very, very red county. Everything was just la-la land over there.
They didn't do the test. They slowed the testing down.
Oh, no, they just had fun. It was lovely because it's just a bubble, you know. But it was, everybody had a different experience. And being independent, I watched all the different sides, but I was just so disappointed because I voted blue, just say it right now, straight down the board, just to cancel out my mom's vote. Truly, I told her, I'm voting blue just to cancel your vote out. I just want you to know, you know, just ha ha ha, but not ha ha ha, like legit.
So I think that
but
the
we didn't.
points
Who do
are
we
legitimate.
have?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It was just disappointing to see that. Where is the leadership?
Really? I was going to agree because I have a lot of Republican family,
Yep.
and I'm actually a former Republican. I'm like a convert Democrat, so I'm a little bit more of a cheerleader because any convert would be.
New? You're new?
So, yeah, so like I try to find the positives, and I think the challenges are coalition challenges. So like the party itself isn't a cult. You don't follow dear leader, you know, off a cliff.
Regardless.
We have so many different types of people doing so many, because if you're against fascism, if you're against racism, if you're against people who are discriminating against the LGBTQ plus community, you have a big tent, but that's really difficult to make work in a two-party system. I think that's the big flaw. Like
that's what's so interesting here, right?
Yeah.
Is this multi-party system?
Yes.
I don't know that it's effective, but it's interesting to watch.
Yeah.
It does create that coalition necessity, which can sometimes be...
Coalition.
I mean, we were talking about right now, for example, they're speaking here in Catalonia that they want to reduce the rate of working from 40 hours to 37.5. And some of the political parties are up in arms, but most specifically Junts per Catalunya, who, of course. And what people don't seem to understand and realize is that for over 80% of the votes since December of 1978, the parties that have been led by the Pujol family have voted in line with the PP and now Vox over 80% of the time. They have voted against the people that's killed their people by the scores of thousands. And let us never forget that Catalonia was the last place that had slavery in the West. Let us never forget. So we need to remember that these people who are acting like the motherfucking victims now have taken everything from them, using black folk and Caribbean, mostly from England, here to build their wealth, and then we're the victims and we want independence now. And that kind of creation then leads to, like, the socialist government right now has the lowest approval rating since December 1978, while Spain just happens to be the strongest growth economy in the world.
Last year for sure.
We've always been terrible at marketing and communications. The left has.
The left.
They're just
totally.
are terrible,
And we're
terrible
held
at
to a different
messaging.
standard as well. And
Well,
that
the truth.
Absolutely,
The
like
truth
Pedro
is-
Sanchez should not be resigning. Like,
Right.
why?
Not
After
in
what
this
happened in
world.
Valencia,
Yeah, not in this
you know,
world.
like why is Pedro Sanchez resigning?
But my phone won't. Exactly.
You know, and by the way, I have a subscription to El País. You asked what stereotype we want to push back against about Americans,
ma'am.
and one of mine is that we don't care about anything beyond our borders.
Right.
And I just have to say that I think that people don't understand the complexity of American identity. My cousin is one of the heads of UNRWA in Jordan and is not Jewish. And that's where I get my news about the Middle East. I have subscriptions to El País, Haaretz, The Guardian, The Washington Post. I steal from someone else because I'm not giving Jeff Bezos any more money.
You're
And the
also
New
a
York
contributing
Times.
writer as
And
well.
I'm a contributing writer. So
You have a wonderful
She's
piece
my
of the
new
Daily Beast as
favorite
well.
person.
Oh no, I'm stealing her next.
love
Let's go
her.
for coffee. And
We're gonna have
breakfast.
iced coffee.
I'm so sorry. I just want to say that Hannah Becker. When I came here and got into comedy, it was because somebody just like there's someone named Kim Skinner who runs the Atomic shows for queer people and women and allies, and she will give anybody a chance to get up. And that Hannah Becker, who was as usual in between 19 different things and 20 different comic wars, like gave me her number after my first set ever, and then actually showed up and met me for coffee. So she is quieter than me because everyone else on earth is, but I just want to give a huge shout out and you know, say that there are people here who are really holding each other up, and there are women who aren't, you know, talking the talk, they're walking the walk.
They're walking the walk.
So.
Well, can we ask you, Mijita, let's jump into that.
Intro.
Thank you. For the queen here, how did this become the hub? Because the Clubhouse and the things that you've been doing for years, even before the Clubhouse, has become a hub for the creatives of comics here. How did that happen? So was it a family reunion or more like chaos theory?
I mean, I think a bit of both. Like when I first started, it was a bit more. There wasn't as much to go around, and so we all felt like we were like fighting for the scraps. And I think as we all built up our own shows, like it all culminated in eventually having the Comedy Clubhouse where. Yeah, like there's so much happening there. There's also stuff happening at other places, but like to be able to have a place where every night we're putting on shows and like not just stand up, we have improv, we have poetry night, we have stuff in Spanish and Italian and Russian, all this other stuff going on. I think it's become more of a base for the community. And when you talk to anyone about like, oh, like what do you like about the Clubhouse? Like everyone will just be like the community. It's the people. It's that you found your group of like little weirdos in this city that all want to like tell jokes and be silly and play games and be funny, and it's
what inspired you? Sorry, I'm more squashing down croissant. What inspired some of your? Were there any specific women, if we could keep it that way, comics who inspired your comedy from back in the day? I'm just out of curiosity.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was always a big Amy Schumer fan, and now I'm not so much. But no, I think she was like one of the first, because I feel like there were a lot of these like hot girl comedians that were like famous when I was kind of younger and coming up, and I was like, oh, I guess you like also just have to be like hot and skinny to do stand up too. And then I was like, oh no, like they're like normal looking women who are also not, because like I don't want to be like Amy Schumer's fat, but like she's like a normal bodied woman.
Yay, Fortune.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fortune Feimster. Yeah. There's so many more like women that aren't these just like supermodels, which is great. Also, be hot. Being hot is great. Like people should be hot. Be hot
if you want to.
Fucking hot right now.
Yeah, not
being hot is great.
If you want to be hot.
Yeah, but I think there was something about like being a kind of normal person and just being like like I have my own experiences that I want to share.
Jessica Kirsten's incredible too.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh my God,
she's like
great.
a legend and a living legend. One of my favorites. We just interviewed actually a comedian from New York City named Stacey Pressman. I don't know if you know her, but she's been around for a while. She's on that sort of like edgier side, and she's done basically every Sirius XM.
Howard and Artie Lang.
Artie Lang, Sam Roberts, the whole Sirius XM lineup. She's had her own radio shows and stuff like that. She's a true hustler, like a New York City from Brooklyn. New York City hustler. She has like 7 jobs. She's an actress, public speaker. No. She's based in New York City. We interviewed her last week. Here's our last show.
Okay. Nice.
And we interviewed her. It's incredible. Like the way she's been. She's born and raised in Brooklyn. She actually ran for mayor against Adams a couple of years ago as a third-party candidate. And she's a
She was
public
a
speaker
libertarian.
about like eating disorders, burnout, mental health in general.
In other words, she's a woman from New York.
Yeah. She would say the same.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, so that brings a question that I wanted to say. Do you think that bringing that energy of a little bit of hustle is necessary?
Yes.
It's not even an option. It's just who I am.
Because over here,
Stereo.
and this is something that came up in hour one.
yes.
Okay, testify.
Yes.
Because over here, there comes this understanding of, ay, es que es lo que hay, es que no, y es que de la marinera.
No, we can't.
And so at some point, you get a little bit tired when you're dating a 49-year-old who still lives with his mom. Oh, my mom lives with me, shit.
Yeah, no, my mom lives with me. That's the
Right.
way it is. Yeah, we've talked about this so many times. I've been here 6 years, and it still takes me time to get over that attitude because it's so hard because we do hustle. This is table hustles, right? There's no doubt about it. We're in Lake Company, and we have just a different mindset, and it's Americana, tranquila, Americana. Okay, no, I don't even know what that means.
No pares, huh? No
Yeah,
pares,
no.
pares.
Honestly,
No, I don't stop.
No, you
I
don't
can't
stop. Of course, and it just is. It's amazing. And we were joking, like dating here is a whole other podcast. But we're saying, my mom lives with me. And I'm like, really? In the same house that you grew up in? You are not taking care of your mom, you 49-year-old.
That
Right? Like, I can't.
it's definitely a curveball from the culture and society that we come from.
Kills me.
Uh-huh.
It kills me. I just want to. I
Right,
want to
right.
see the motivation. What are you doing? What are you doing to enrich your life? What are you doing to help other people? What do you do? Do you volunteer anywhere? Because you have so much time. Like, what are we doing with our lives? And it just is a very, very different mindset that I have to just shut my mouth. Because
Do we
I
blame the parents
I
and the
don't know.
grandparents?
I don't know if it's
Maybe
cultural.
affordability.
Is it cultural?
But then
Affordability might be-
affordability
Yeah, I think-
is a thing. You know, in Germany, do you know that people in Germany pay half the rent we do
Yes.
Really?
for the same space? Maybe, 30 to 50% less. It's insanity.
But can I just say that, like, when you're watching all these anti-tourist dealios that are going on right now, right?
child, yeah,
And
so we need that
I'm
money.
looking at this craziness going, you know who owns these apartments, right?
It's
They're Catalans.
Speak.
Yeah.
Catalans
Testify.
own these,
Preach.
own
Testify.
these apartments.
Right.
And they're the ones out there protesting, putting tear gas. I'm watching
Right.
this going, this is the most asinine thing I have ever seen. I cannot believe it.
Also,
It just kills me.
250,000 jobs are directly related to tourism in Barcelona. So.
Look, I'm sorry.
And I'd say more.
Sagrada Familia
That's what
would
we
not
know
even be
of.
built if it was up to the Catalans to put in their cash to build that sucker. So I'm sorry. All of your iconic things that people come to see are paid for by tourists.
Yeah, I agree with
So
you.
settle the F down.
Nearly
Okay.
45% of our income now, over 40%.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I understand there's an issue, but that's high rent for the people who are actually living here are owned by the Catalans. I live in one of them. I know. And it is bullshit. Sorry. Beep, beep, beep.
Curse on here.
Yeah.
Nance, do you want to say something?
Yes, she does.
I have something bubbling.
can feel it too, but-
WWJD.
Damn.
WWND.
Who's Jay? Yeah, who's Jay? I don't know.
Well, look, the complexities of what really creates political change. Like, I personally am not a big fan of emoji activism.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Yeah, right,
and
yeah.
the fact is that both in New York, where we've been losing our apartments to people who show up with suitcases full of cash for 20 years, and here it means holding your government responsible. While I'm a little shocked that the real estate industry here appears to have as much power as they do in New York, given the difference in election laws.
Right.
Look, the fact is that the people we need to be speaking to are our electeds. Nobody is going to stop coming to Barcelona because someone squirts them with a water
Right.
gun. People need to be protecting, and I believe that
It'll feel
people who
good
pay
in the
taxes
summer.
here should be protected by their government. And by the way, I first came here in 2006, and if I were Catalan or if I lived here, I would be absolutely bullshit over the way that Barcelona has changed.
Yeah.
It's just a question of who to hold responsible. But I absolutely agree that this town is over-touristed. I also think that Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I spent 16 years of my life getting a series of degrees and sober, and New York, where I spent 25 years, should have signs over them saying, launder your money here, buy an apartment.
Why?
Like,
Really?
You mean
Yeah.
Trump Tower?
Yeah, but so they need to pass a pied-à-terre tax. They need to, but absolutely, people are right here, and locals are right here to be outraged. I'm outraged at the over-tourism of Barcelona.
Well, it's
Especially
interesting.
the-
They're expanding the airport, but they're spending $3.5 billion to
Billion.
expand the airport.
And just $1 billion on the stadium for
That's
Spotify.
right. And they're expanding the
Spotify.
ports. They can bring in more cruises. Like, so this day visitor is a deal.
It's here to stay.
It is here to stay. So what's going on?
I feel like Barcelona went through some really fast growing pains. Like since the Olympics, it was in 91, 92. It was like, oh yes, of course. And when I got here in 2001, I could see that yes, there was tourism, but of course nothing like compared to now. But you could tell that they weren't ready for the amount of that responsibility and the amount of people that were coming in and the kind of service that they were supposed to give to the people. You know, all of this, you could tell there was just like kind of this, we want them to come in, but we don't know how to do it.
Was it Felipe Gonzalez at that time, or was it Aznar?
Aznar was...
I don't remember at the millennium, because you were here around that time.
Aznar, it was Aznar and Blair and...
Bush
Jr.
Well, you're right. It's about 15 million tourists a year. The Sagrada, I think, it's about 7 million. And the city,
and proper, none of them know how to walk on the right side of the sidewalk. None of them.
And you make a good point about
everywhere.
You make a really good point about the cruise ship. So it's different. My best man is coming with his fiance for a couple of weeks, and we're going to restaurants. We're going to Palata del Musica Catalana. We're going to the Gothic. We're going to spend money and stimulate the economy, which is exactly what people want to do. I feel like when you come off a cruise ship,
you have 8 hours.
You have 8 hours, and you also all your food is comped on the boat, so you're not going to pay for food.
They're not.
So it feels like a little bit like locusts.
Yeah.
Like, it's people that are not going to spend any money. Maybe they'll buy a trinket, like a little fridge magnet.
That's why you got every other store being a souvenir shop.
Right. And that's a problem.
I have an issue with those cruise liners.
Do you have a most despised, we don't like the HATE word here, but do you have a most despised area of the city? Mine is Barcelona, though.
During the summer it is, for sure. I'm not a
fan.
I think every area there's a nice vibe to every area. Some areas, past certain hours, you don't necessarily want to go down those areas, right? It just depends.
As someone who fights my way through every day at Barceloneta to get to the absolutely astounding CNAB, 50 euros a month for 2 outdoor 25-meter swimming pools next to the ocean?
Yeah.
Hell yes. And the most gorgeous bodies in Barcelona.
Yes.
I mean, CNAB is how I know I'm gay, because those boys are gorgeous. Yeah. Holy God. But it's...
CNAB? What's CNAB?
It's me being embarrassed to speak any kind of Spanish. Would you mind?
It's a gym that has a great big pool right on the beach.
It's on the beach.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
And there's two next to each other, a private and a public. I belong to the public, partially government-funded one.
Right.
I've realized that socialism just means that your taxes actually go to some things that serve you, and capitalism, it means it goes to an extremely large military that makes decisions that you completely disagree with.
Amen.
That
was another question we had. Healthcare. And the question was, what's it like having it when you don't require a second mortgage or something like that? Kelly, for example.
Hello.
You've had some stuff done.
I had a hip replacement surgery here.
Wow.
3 years ago. Didn't know I was going to have it, but it was sort of a genetic thing. Dad had it. Kind of looking at it down the road. Super active, doing all kinds of great stuff. Gym, And here I am in this country, and I was paying, sanitas, because I was on a non-lucrative visa, so that's what I had to have was my, insurance, full private insurance, which was ridiculous, right? Less than 150 euros. Come on now, died. So of course I'll pay that. I was waiting for the shoe to drop. I was waiting for something to happen. Where's the deductible? Where's the triple, quadruple my monthly after this surgery? Because it was huge surgery, right? Yeah. And I was in the hospital for 3 days, and it was glorious, and I just had one eye open waiting for the mail, thinking something's going to show up. And it didn't. And it didn't. And I was like, wow, this is what healthcare is supposed to be.
Yes. Yeah.
This is how it's supposed to be, and this is private.
Yeah.
This is private. So I know they pay insane taxes here.
Yes.
Right. Yes. For this public system. The taxes are very high. So please have something to show for it. And they do.
Yeah.
Our healthcare system is proof to that.
The minute you don't go bankrupt, getting an appendix out,
yes.
you automatically realize how good it is.
It's disgusting. Yeah. It is the number one thing that makes me so sick about the U.S.
Oh, absolutely.
Is our healthcare system.
The healthcare system is a disaster. If you're rich, it's the best in the world. If you have plenty of money, the U.S. healthcare system is the best in the world. But even then,
you're still paying if you have a serious issue, like you need you need 24-hour care around the clock, like even, family in homes.
Right. Yeah. No, my grandfather was the same. Yeah,
$7,000 a month, $8,000 a month.
What? Absurd.
It's absurd.
And more if you want them to be showered twice a week.
This is
fed.
crazy.
And fed.
And that's what I mean.
That?
If you're rich, it's affordable.
Yeah.
If you're not, it's bankrupting.
It's
I had my son here, and it was almost 17 years ago. Oh my God! But I felt like it was in great hands. I had no worries whatsoever. It was great experience, and I'm not sure how it would have been in the States, but
expensive, I can tell you.
Yeah, that, but also
that we know.
Yeah, but also I went to La Maternidad. They're known for it's based on birthing.
That's what it
hospital,
is.
very famous for it. And they just have this way. They said, "Do you want to have a natural birth?" I said, "I'll try." So they said, "Okay," and they left me in a room.
Wow!
After some hours, I said, "I think I'm
over this.
I want the drugs.
Squirrels
I want the
came up
drugs
to feed
now."
her.
Exactly.
How big an epidural do you have?
Yeah,
Oh, girl, you want to
There's a
see
before and
that?
after. My husband took a picture of me, and I'm like this. I'm like the exorcist with my hair.
Yeah.
And then after, I'm like,
This is great. Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
But no, it was a great experience. So,
Yeah.
Does living abroad make you funnier, more introspective, or weirder, or all three?
All three.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love
Yeah,
that.
just the
That's the
same
answer.
thing as growing old or getting sober does. It's an opportunity, and whether you take it or not depends on you.
Do you still work the steps?
Yes.
Amen.
Well, I mean, they're an internal part of people's lives. Like, either you care about
You pay attention
correcting
or
your
you don't.
shit or you
Or not.
don't.
Yeah.
Do you think?
My grandparents actually 45 years sober before my grandfather passed away. They both worked the same program. I'm a AA rooms kid playing off to the side with my best man who's coming to visit. And I really respect the hell out of that. It's a hard life change. It's a hard mental change. That's really cool.
So this is an anonymous program, so I'll simply say that I'll be 38 years sober on June 28th. But I do want to say something about the Comedy Clubhouse, and to say it especially for my sober community, which is that John Alice, who runs it, has a large, constantly full, free container of spring water. And
That's
that
nice.
the bar has never ever looked at me sideways,
That's nice.
for getting Vichy water. And the
Yeah.
fact is that if you're in the entertainment industry, most of it separates into sober and we're saving a chair for you. And so I just want to say to anybody who's scared to come to the Comedy Clubhouse or any of the other venues because they're scared that it's a huge drinking scene, I just want to let you know that you've got sober community there and many people who aren't sober who will completely respect and honor and help you at that decision. So don't be afraid to come out into nightlife.
Do you
I'm
find
an
that?
Al-Anon
plenty of
kid.
comedians that talk about it too, like Kyla Cobbler, Ian Anderson.
Right.
Everyone talks about it, and it's
Yeah,
great
yeah.
because it brings.
She's great.
Yeah,
My God.
people. It's out in the open. It's not big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it
Becoming
used to be more. I feel like it used to be more of a thing of like everyone would just get hammered at every show, and I think in the past couple of years, I don't know, maybe we just grew up a little bit. We're like, oh, this isn't sustainable, and like more and more people have been either going completely sober, being like, I'm, reducing my intake. I'm going to have like a sober month. I'm going to just experiment with this and see how this makes
I
me
think
feel
it's
and how this affects
happening
my art
more.
and all that.
Yeah.
It's happening more. There's a generation that is just like, why are we killing ourselves? And it's not my generation, I can tell you that.
It happened in your generation too. You just don't know these folks. Look, I bottomed
dating
out in graduate school. I bottomed out in graduate school making Brandeis the world's most expensive and rigorous open air rehab. But in 1987, when this happened for me, my bestie Wendy was a 16-year-old in Spartanburg, South Carolina, getting sober out there. So I just have to say, and someone who's been very special to me got sober when she was 14. Wow. And what I always say is that when you're a cute upper middle class white woman straight in Napa Valley and the police are still booking you, you've crossed a fucking line. So when we talk about what's different about here, sobriety and therapy both seem to be relatively new concepts to Barcelona. I think it's hysterical listening to comics who are like, is anybody here in therapy? And the question in New York is like, is anybody not? Or when I say I'm sober here, people think it means I haven't started drinking yet for the evening. And I'm like, nope.
I'm not talking about today.
Not talking about today.
Not just this week.
Okay, for the comedians here, do you think that do you sometimes find that people are not getting the drift because they don't understand our humor, our sense of humor, our 90s, 2000s, 80s?
Yeah. Well, if you don't speak enough Spanish, you are miming, and then once you learn enough Spanish,
Miming.
you feel like a mime. And then once you learn enough Spanish, you can actually communicate with people. But yeah, there's a lot of miscommunication for sure.
Do you do comedy?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm not. Oh, okay.
There's a huge difference between the Spanish humor and the humor that we used to.
Wait, can you talk more about that?
Well, I have Catalan and Spanish friends, and the type of humor. I guess I've learned how to kind of adjust the way I know how to make them laugh. I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's very different than, well, you know.
Yeah,
I hope I can make you guys laugh, but as far as like the Comedy Clubhouse and other places you go to, it's very international. It's not just Spanish and you know, people from the States. There's people from Sweden, people
Italian,
from Germany.
Russian,
so it's a very, very interesting to observe who reacts to what and what doesn't work, and it's to see the comedians go, okay, well, you know, and doing their crowd work and where are you from. It's very colorful.
Well, that's the fun about performing in Barcelona, I imagine, compared to performing in a more like homogenous kind of place, like, not to say like New York is homogenous, but like everyone there is from New York, you know, or in London, like everyone's from London. Here it's like, yeah, you have some people are on vacation, some people have lived here for a month, some people have lived here 10 years, some people are in, you know, a relationship with someone from a different country to them, some people, you know, like there's all these different things, and like you have to do a certain kind of comedy. I mean, like you have to make sure that your humor is, you know, gonna make a lot of people laugh. Like you can't rely on, they're gonna know this specific politician from my country, or this specific supermarket from my country, or, you know, all of these little references that when you have like UK comedians come in, they're like, the Tesco, right? And you're like, what? Or, you know, Americans are like, and then like this like senator, and everyone's like, I don't know who that is. Like, we're not paying attention that deeply. Like,
I've noticed that when internationally known comedians come, like,
know your audience.
It was kind of the past few times. I won't say the names because, you know, they're very, very famous people, and people came, spent a lot of money, but it was a little bit like as if this person hadn't done any research, and I think this person really didn't think that. I think that person thought that they were all Spanish people who could speak English.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, we're from your country.
Yeah, that happens so often, like visiting comedians, and they're like, so you Spanish people, and I'm like, there's not a single Spanish person in this room. I'm like, those are Germans, they're Polish, like they're from Argentina.
And they're Catalan, so don't call them Spanish.
What about us? You know, some of them don't do their research.
So I feel like that's one of when visiting comedians come to the Clubhouse, it's one of the things I always tell them, and I'll be like, do not assume that the audience is Spanish, because it'll be awkward. Like, it's going to be uncomfortable.
It's a really good note.
Yeah.
It really is. I know I'm not a comedian, but I think so in my head.
Yeah. No,
me too.
So I just want to say that I'm about to do a presentation next week on the 26th and the 27th. My Instagram is Nancy G NYC.
Is that the
BCN
Studio?
NYC. I'm going to be at the BCN Studio on the 26th and 27th doing a presentation on Stonewall, which were the 1969 riots in New York City that are the basis of the contemporary queer rights movement, but are not the first gasp of queer rights, which is part of what we're going to be talking about. And my translator for this, it'll be consecutive translation, which means I'll say a few things in English, and then Iris Perway, who is from Murcia. I just want to let my friends know that while it's not going to be in Catalan, it would be if someone wants to be my Catalan translator, who is native-born Catalan. But my translator is a professional translator. You will not be listening to a giddy stumbling over the words.
I'm not doing it.
Screw up with a Spanish dad and a French mother, and so you'll be hearing bona fide Castellano. But it's the 26th and the 27th at BCN Studios, and 50% of the profits will be going to Rainbow Railroad, which is helping queer people get the fuck out of Dodge in the many places in which we are endangered, which increasingly includes the United States. I certainly hope that people are going to come. There are early bird tickets for €8, and we have extended that deadline to midnight tonight so that your listeners can get in on the lower price. Nice. All of the information is on my Instagram page, but I did hear a younger comedian from Sweden the other night saying, why do we celebrate Pride in June? I'm like, the Stonewall riots were June 20.
Well, the real question is, why do we celebrate Pride in July in Barcelona? What's the story of that?
Because the boys want to have a circuit party culture, and you can't make all of your money everywhere on June 28th. But even in the United States, for example, Porter Grubbs, who was one of the queer comedians I was performing with last night, told me that in Atlanta they do it in October because it's too freaking hot.
Oh, that makes sense.
So, but New York, of course, we're like, it's June 28th, motherfucker. You know, which also happens to be my sobriety date. Definitely not planned. Definitely not planned that way.
Kismet.
But so June is a good month for me.
I want to thank you for even doing that, because the things that I've understood or learned here in the community is that people do not understand or respect the community and what people had to die and fight for.
That's right.
True.
And when you have people like Roland fucking Emmerich making a movie that really whitewashed that.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
It's necessary, because one of the things we do have, especially in the gay community, there's a huge chemsex issue that's going on and has been going on for quite a while. It's
Yes, it has.
died
Are you
down
talking about
a hot
meth
minute.
use?
Yeah.
Correct. And so as someone who also has an older gay brother and is also gay, when you see...
You're gay?
That's what I say.
When you see
He's too
that
cute. I would date him.
very few, especially if you're under 50 here, they don't understand that so many people have fought for them to have this.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
You're right.
It really gets in my craw. It really does.
Maybe you should have
Boils my
one of the
potatoes.
stands in the parade so they can be known. You
Ooh,
know,
An
you should be
educational thing would
broadcasting.
not
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, like, I no longer go to pride parades because I didn't get queer for people to sell me Stolichnaya, you know, or for people to have chemsex.
Right.
Look, so look, freedom, you know, I haven't been an activist so I could have a bunch of long-haired, straight-passing flexers on Instagram as gay influencers being like, you know, and you know what? They get to do that. They absolutely get to do that. And most people have never been political. If you talk to people who are from the hippie years, they're like, yeah, 10% of us were protesting against the Vietnam War and 90% of us were just fucking and doing drugs.
Right.
You know, so I don't think that this is a new phenomenon. I also just want to say I don't think it's a young versus old phenomenon. I have bona fide Catalan friends here, straight and queer and of different ages. They all hustle. They've all traveled. They're all educated. They also all read multiple newspapers. Right? Like there's just a straight line through what my friends are like, right? We all read, we vote, we vaccinate, you know, we travel.
Sure.
Nice crowd.
I have gay Catalan friends that are conservative as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a mix.
There is.
A very strong mix. I mean, they are like, they are junts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do the apps anymore,
are
but there are
back.
actually queer women who don't support abortion. I'm like, you know, and I'm like,
Wow.
and there's queer men who don't support things like
See?
so. And I want to say to my friends here who are like, there's no difference between the parties, that Spain has the most progressive transgender law on the books in the entire EU. I chose to live in Barcelona very intentionally as a queer Jewish woman. I needed to, you know, it's so interesting when you hear your straight friends who have more money talk about living here. They're like, I was looking for a place that has a terrace. I was like, I'm looking for a place where no one burns a cross on my lawn. So I just want to say that if you think that your vote doesn't matter, you know, if you think it doesn't matter to vote for a place that still has abortion access, that still has transgender rights, that still has elections that are considered legitimate, even if everybody fights about it, think again. Get your ass out there and vote and change the political system. I know it's not pretty. I cannot tell. I can count on one hand the number of times I have voted for a candidate who I thought was qualified for that office.
Straight up.
But you know, whether or not you vote and where you live and what you support makes a huge fucking difference.
I encounter that with my uni students. I can't even begin to tell you. And there is that sense of apathy that we brought up in the first hour.
Right.
That
I'm a big proponent of harm reduction. I mean, I genuinely think harm reduction, voting for harm reduction is a very good thing. And
we have harm reduction in Spain.
Yeah, and I just think it's critical. I really do. Like, so I'm somebody who's a former Republican, actually, former Libertarian, as I talked about before. So, like, I think the personal belief is different than what you vote for and what you implement. So, like, a government with the power to force birth is insane. Like, that power that a government could possibly have is how it can be used and abused. It's just horrifying. It's just absolutely horrifying. And if the government could force men like myself to have to give, it would have been abortions for everyone.
Yeah,
like on the corner, you would be getting abortions.
Exactly.
It's just sickening. So that's what led me to be more pro-choice, even though being an Irish Catholic background and a former Republican, I was like, we can't be having a government with this power. This is insane. Like, this is not freedom. This is not what I believe in. So I get that. And the blatant... It just actually makes me sick that people can't be who they want to be without any, like, no choice of your own, how you were born, what you were doing. And that has to be demonized. Like, not your choices, not your life, not what you're contributing to society. It's just how you were born is we're going to hate you for it.
But even if you weren't born that and you chose it, which I also know.
Right. And I just find that,
Just
like,
that's
why I'm a
choice.
convert. Yeah, that's why I'm a convert, because I believe in, like, general harm reduction, and I believe that, like, we're all in the mix. Why are we, like, shitting on other humans for choices?
Because we don't appreciate and we do not value the spectrum.
Well,
because
anybody
it's
who
a sliding
says,
scale, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're this or you're this. You're either gay or you're straight, and people don't respect this spectrum of people that you can choose. How do you feel? How are you happy? Where do you love? Where do you live in harmony? Where do you find your peace? Doesn't matter,
Finding that
right?
peace.
It's your choice, and so for us to put laws around that is the insanity part, right? It's nutty that you would try to regulate what that looks like.
And every generation, there's just some new group to demonize, right? Like, every generation...
Oh, no, it's the same group.
I was just going to say.
Sadly, there's a real lack of imagination about who to demonize.
Jews, blacks, and women.
Yeah, and people who look
LGBTQ,
different from us.
and, like, and I just, like, that's not, like, because I grew up in this whole manosphere Republican kind of thing, and I guess having the love of a good woman probably changed my mind.
Talk about woman.
But like, you know, it really just sounds so abysmal to me. So we have these conversations with Lucas, we have other guests and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, I don't think we should be trampling on LGBTQ rights, so I guess I'm a cuck or something. Like, the dialogue is getting so insane that, like, I believe that people who do not feel safe should be able to be free to take their lives and their family elsewhere. A friend of my wife's actually does asylum cases for trans people that, like, are under, like, actual threat.
Right, that's who inspired me to do that. Was talking to immigration lawyers working with trans people in the U.S. But please go ahead.
No, and it's the same type of thing. And I just started realizing, like, what I was being fed was complete shit. It was a divisive kind of, like, world. All of us, yeah. Right, and so, like, that's what. When I'm like, why are your answers that I have to shit on somebody else who makes the same money as me versus the billionaire who stole everything that, like, they have? And it just changed me more left over time. And now I'm in Barcelona, so, like, it's gotten like, wait a minute, I'm 40 and out of shape and healthcare is free. Like, it just, my life experiences generally, like, inform my ideas about me growing and learning and changing.
Well,
my
everybody.
mind.
I mean, this is why initiatives to change people's lives are a lovely idea and a big moneymaker for people who run those courses. What changes your life is knowing and loving people who are different from you. And I think that that's what accounts for some of New York City's liberalism. It's hard to demonize people who you live next to, shop with, are taught by. It's still quite possible. I just also want to say to people here who don't know that when we talk about harm reduction, we're talking about a philosophy that says that instead of criminalizing, for example, people who use IV drugs, that you want to give people clean needles. You want, instead of criminalizing the distribution of contraception, especially to young people or people who can afford it, you want to make it available to people because you don't want people to die about the choices that they're making. And many people who are in harm reduction, which is where I learned about auricular acupuncture and so forth, are people who are sober, so that we're not always, the idea that people are demanding that you give up all your drugs or that you're worthless is absolutely not true. We want people to live long, happy, healthy lives and be able to make their decisions and not die over them.
Yeah, your addiction shouldn't, like, say then you can just die. So an example from my personal life is that, like, I spent my entire childhood at AIDS walks because my parents died of AIDS. And so, like, I got very...
so sorry.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Very, very long time ago.
Blood transfusion?
Yeah.
I'm
so like,
sorry.
my father, they were very young, and my father got into, like, intravenous, like, drug use. And back then, when, like, Reagan was calling it homo cancer, or, I'm sorry, Reagan's advisors were treating it like some, like, as in COVID, almost the same thing, the same COVID playbook. They just didn't know. There was no information out there, and it was a death
they
sentence.
knew, they didn't care.
That's
Right.
the thing.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
the
even mention
people
the
in charge
word.
knew
It's
and
quite
didn't care.
different.
And so, like, I completely agree with the way to, like, that's actually the way to do it, and that's why I'm such a harm reduction advocate. Is that, like, you were saying about, like, clean needles and processes, like, that make people, like, safer, and it's like, listen, I know you're making a destructive choice, but that doesn't mean you have to die for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm clearly alive because I did the drugs of my time and my class, right? In my day, nice Jewish middle-class girls didn't do heroin, you know, and that's why I wasn't doing intravenous drugs, but not because I was making wise life decisions.
What did they do, though?
Yeah.
Weed? Well, I you know, when people ask me what I was addicted to, I'm like, well, I was interdisciplinary. I mean, I think it's like, what addict is so dumb that they only have one drug? Yeah, sure. You know, like you just get high on whatever the hell you can. You know, and I, you know,
It's good around that love.
But I just want to say that I love Barcelona and that I really appreciate the way that people have welcomed me here, despite the incredible complexities of what it means to have people come into your city who are other than you, who raise rents, who are competition for comedy spots, that I think that there's been an enormous amount of graciousness, and that the cariño culture here, the fact that I can be having a conflict at the bank and that the bank manager and I look at each other and touch each other's arms and laugh over the system going badly is like incredibly delicious. I also want to say that as a third generation Jewish American whose great-grandparents left Belarus in the 1880s because they were setting fire to Jews in the streets.
Victoria.
That I just want to say that when people say, like, they make fun of America, like, I'm proud of the people who got out into the streets of the United States last week for No Kings. I've got goosebumps. And here that there are many...
Because he helps organize it.
Right, there are many different ways to be from the United States, and I'm not ashamed of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Bernie
the next
Sanders
mayor of New
or
York.
Jasmine Crockett
I wish he was the mayor of New York.
or Linda Sarsour. You know, we are,
Comptrollers,
you know, immigrants, we get the job done. So I just want to say that I am deeply grateful to the United States. I will never renounce my American citizenship. I'm here for physical safety. I'm here because I'll be getting my hip replacement with Sanitas in September.
Stop.
You know, and I needed to be in
After
a culture.
paying in for so long,
I needed to be in a culture where I could grow old and not die from it.
Do you feel less stressed, everybody? Does everyone feel a little less stressed maybe here than they would be right now?
We're stressed about different stuff.
We're stressed about different stuff. I mean, I'm reading the news actively, so on the one hand, I'm, you know...
Why do you say no?
Because
Kelly?
I live in a bubble. I mean, if you've ever been to Orange County, nothing happens there. I swear to God. You don't even know the world's happening around you. It's ridiculous. You go back and go, does anybody know what's happening on the earth? Like they just don't feel anything there. No, exactly. Everything's fine and great.
Do you remember
and
Kids in the Hall? Do you remember Kids in the Hall?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Canadian, right?
Yeah, and there was a movie they did called Brain Candy. And at one point they said L.A., where it's 72 degrees in the head all the time. And it's an element where, do you find that, for the Cali girls, is there a truth to that? Hey.
Oh, well, yeah.
I don't know checked out people. I mean, I don't hang with them. I know they exist, but I'm not interested in them.
But you know they're there.
Of course they are. It's 90% of the population.
I would say, I'd say 97% actually.
It's a choice. It's a choice, and it's probably to protect themselves from freaking out. And
Yeah, totally.
You know,
Absolutely. It's not it's
So
not affecting
undealt
us
with trauma
today.
responses. Is that what we're talking about? Speaking of,
Circle
circling around to things that everybody's has coming up in the next
let's end on a
months.
positive note.
Yes, please. For example, Nicole,
Yes.
take it away. What's coming up next for you?
What you got for us?
Thankfully for the arts, I'm able to express myself through the arts, and I have this solo show that I've written and performed in, directed by Javier Galito Cava, and it's called Fickle Eulogy.
Right.
And it's performing in the BCN Studio the 26th and 27th of July at 8 o'clock. So go to the BCN Studio and get your tickets, and I'm happy to see you there.
Absolutely. Or join me in London.
And yes, and I'll take it to
see
London in August, 16th, 17th, 18th. It's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. At
I will
the
be
Hope
there.
Theater. I'm going to come and see you in London as well.
Absolutely.
16th, 17th, 18th of August.
Of August. Can you come?
I think I might.
In London?
Yeah, I mean, I have so much fans and family there.
Oh my gosh.
Fans and family.
I just have to find,
Together at last.
I have to find someone to take care of the
Babies.
Yeah.
The fur
like
babies.
2 fur babies.
Also, please.
Lady H, please.
Well, I work at the Comedy Clubhouse, and we just opened a new venue, which is insane. So, yeah, we did a soft opening yesterday with our new restaurant, which is Nikki's Kitchen. I don't know if anyone's had Nikki's Kitchen before. She's amazing, Canadian woman, makes the most amazing food. So, yeah, we'll have food. We're going to have shows. Our real opening is going to be 4th of July weekend on the 5th, but we'll have Michelle Wolf recording our podcast and doing a Michelle Wolf and Friends show as our opening show. But yeah, we're gonna have both venues open like all summer.
They have air conditioning.
Yes, we have air conditioning.
Sparkling water.
Amazing shows. I host an open mic every Monday, and I'm often hosting on the weekends. So come, follow me on Instagram. Check out the Comedy Clubhouse.
H.Becker Comedy.
Come to the new place. They're both in Bourne. They're like the new place is like 2 minutes from the old place. So
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
yeah,
On Via Laetana.
So yeah, Via Laetana 6. It still has the old sign on it, but we're working on that hopefully soon.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, come check it out. Eat some food.
So we're not
have
leaving.
some
That's
laughs.
what I'm hearing.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, it's great.
Excellent.
It's great.
I love it.
Kels.
Hello. So I do I've been doing television for many years in the U.S. Interior design TV. I started off on TLC in those good old days.
Wow.
Many HGTV shows. And so now I have a current show called Extravagant Spaces on the Design Network, where I go back to the good old US of A and I film the incredible, extravagant homes that some of these people live in. We don't know what political party they are. Not really sure. We're in Arizona. I'm not sure. But they're gorgeous nonetheless. So I host that show, and we're coming out with season 2, which I'll be doing at the end of the year when I go back to the United States.
Nice.
Yes, I am going back to take care of my parents. So doing my daughterly duty to do, and it's my honor to do that. So
Very good.
we'll be watching for that.
Nancy.
Well, as I said, so we have the Stonewall presentation coming up at the BCN Studio next Thursday and Friday. Nancy G NYC is my Instagram. Also, I'm a single Jewish doctor. So I just want to say to all the tomboy femmes out there, yes, please. Yes, please. But I have to say that if you are not interested in politics, like, do not apply. There's just no point.
I think they got
Right.
that.
There's no point.
Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is the way shit works now. And we will see you on the flip side. Everybody got to get up because they are popping in here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here, everybody. And
Thanks, guys.
get all
Thanks
this
for
up
having
because we'll be sending it out to you on Al Gore's interwebs.
Thank
all right,
you.
bye, everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, that was
I'm
fun.
going to see you in London.
Thank you.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream